Hi guys, my name is Shannon Kilberg. For my therapeutic craft, I chose to do arm knitting. This area of occupation is more of a leisure participation, which is used more for enjoyment. For this craft, I used large chunky yarn, a pair of scissors, a table, my arms, and hands. For the space demands, there were two different spaces in which I worked in. One was my friend's dining room in her house, and the other was in my living room. In my friend's dining room, the lighting was very dim, and there was noise from her son that was watching TV. The table supported learning how to do the arm knitting, where I could lay out the yarn and see how to cast it on. In my house, I used my couch and coffee table to use the yarn and place the blanket on the table. The lighting was bright. There wasn't much noise other than the music that I played sometimes while working on the blanket. For social and cultural demands, when I was first learning the craft, my friend and coworker Christina helped me. She showed me how to handle the yarn, lay it out on the table, and how to cast on. After showing me, she allowed me to start by myself by verbally guiding me along the way. I asked her for help as she often makes blankets for her family. After she showed me in her home, then I started working alone at home in my house where I took my time and paid attention to details. For the frequency and timing, first tie a knot. You want it to tie a knot about 4 inches from the end of the yarn. That way you have a little lee room. Then you're going to take the yarn and make a loop with it. Tie it in a knot and place it on the wrist from there. I use my right arm and place the yarn to grab the end with the left hand. Twist the yarn with the left hand and then pulling through the remaining yarn, making a loop about 2 inches long. Continue this step, making chains. You will need to count the chains for the length. For mine, it ended up being about 27 loops. This is considered the first rung. At the end of the last loop on the first rung, you're going to take the yarn and move your hand up through the last loop, making another loop through that. That's going to be the first of the second rung. From there, then you're going to continue taking the yarn, pulling it through each loop that you made on the bottom, making sure that the bottom loop is not twisted and laying straight. From there, then you're going to continue down until the end, and then repeating once you get to the other end. So you're going to take the last loop, pull the yarn through the back side, up through the loop, and through the hole, starting a new rung, and then from there, continuing again. You're going to do this process until you get to the length that you want it to be. When you get to the last rung, then you're going to get your end loop again, but this time you're going to grab 2 loops at the beginning of the rung, place it on your wrist, and then with the yarn leading to the end, you're going to pull it through the 2 loops. Then you're going to have 1 loop, and you're going to grab the other loop next to it, making sure that you consistently have 2 loops at the end. You're going to get the yarn again, pull it through, and you're going to continue this down until the very end. This is going to finish off the blanket and sealing it. Once you get down to the end, then you're going to want to tie a knot, securing the yarn. Cut off the end, that way, or the remaining yarn. And then with the tail of the yarn, you're going to tuck it into the blanket to where you can't see it. From there, you're going to pull and stretch the blanket and the loops out, making sure that everything is consistent. Go back through your blanket and make sure that you're tucking in all the strands from where you're connecting on the extra yarn that you're needing to use. I worked on the craft once a week for about 30 to 45 minutes. This can vary too depending on the time, but for myself it was easier to work on it in the evenings as it was relaxing for me to end the workday. This craft does allow for flexibility. as you can tie off where you want and stop, and put it away and then wait until you can return, untie it, and start again. It does not need to be done at a certain time of day as long as there's adequate light and space to see where you're doing your loops. This became a routine which I worked on each week. It was a relaxing routine that I would have worked on about 1 time a week. The body structures used. I used the limbs, my arms and hands, my ears to see what I was doing and watch my friend, my ears to listen to my friend explaining the steps, and then my limbs and arms again to use the rungs and pull the yarn through. The body functions used was attention to continue holding my attention throughout the process, higher level of cognitive to allow judgment of the loops, the length, and the quality, my energy and drive, giving myself motivation to continue and finish, the performance skills in which that were used was manipulate, using my finger movement to pull the loops through, reaches to extend my arms as I pulled the yarn up and through and over, flow to keep the movement in my wrist and arms, grip for pinching and pulling the yarn through, pace because I noticed that I had a consistent pace working on the loops once I became confident in it. For safety hazards, the only safety hazards that I could think of was using the scissors as they're sharp and they could fall down or stab or poke. And then when cutting, just to make sure that I did not cut myself. For grading this project, one way that I could make this task easier is by using large knitting needles, which they do sell, to help guide and move the loops and keeping them consistent. One way to make it harder is to make the loop smaller rather than on the arm using my fingers or using small knitting needles instead of larger ones. I would like to thank my friend Christina Mendoza for helping me and showing me to learn the craft of arm knitting. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation on arm knitting and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.